Maybe we could try to force the queen and the bishop with the pawn.
The queen and the bishop with the pawn. How? Knight to c2. See, the thing, it does not work because of queen to c3. But idea is correct. But what can you do better? See, because you have got a, see, the moment you have got a discovered jump by a knight, right? You have to think of all the possibilities. Where all can it go? And is there some place where it can go which is much more beneficial?
Knight to d5.
Knight to d5. And where queen will go back to, let us say, c, not c3. Queen will go back to c1.
Probably knight to d3.
Yeah, knight to d3. Because what you are threatening, you are blocking the rook's defense of the d4 pawn. And then queen to d4 was forking the king and the rook. Rook on a1 and the king is here. King is here. See, this should pop up. This check should pop up. Right? So now, okay. So now that is also defended by white. So now, but now it is easy.
Bishop to b4.
Correct. Bishop to b4. Now queen has to go to c2 and then queen takes d4, right? Good. So 6 we got it. 7. This is really tough. But this is amazing. This is a great endgame.
Knight to d2.
Knight to d2. Yes. Because what first, what do you,
You're preventing the king from coming in front. So either knight to d2.
Yeah. But then what will black do? So let us understand. Black will
Push the pawn probably.
Black will push the pawn, c4. And then, see, black is happy to get a draw, right? Black is happy to get a draw. So knight to d2, black will push the pawn to c4, and then he will definitely exchange it against the white pawn.
Knight into c5.
Knight into c5 is a clear draw, right? Just think. Knight into c5 is the simplest thing that comes to your mind, but it is clear draw because black king will take on c5, and then black king is closer to the pawn, the white's pawn will vanish, right? And then it's a draw. So there is no problem for white to get a draw. He can get it instantly. But can he win?
Knight to c1.
Yeah, knight to c1. Now, why did white king move? What if black had pursued the c4 strategy? F coming down with the pawn and then trying to exchange. That would not have worked. Why? Because when c4 to c3 comes, then the knight will go to a2, give a check to the king, and pick up the what do you call? No, I mean give a check to the king and then pick up the pawn with his pawn, and the knight is defending the white's pawn on c3 after that, because after the killing the pawn from behind, and remember that is a winning position. So if the knight is defending a pawn from behind, then the opponent's king cannot stop it, really cannot do anything because it gets paralyzed, right? So that is why c4 strategy will not work and king will go to c4. Now let us bring our king. Let's bring our king. Now
King to e5.
king to e5 would have been good, but now it doesn't work. Because why it does not work? Because king will go, black king will go to, no, pawn to c4.
How about B3? B3.
Knight to d3.
No, pawn to B3.
Pawn to b3. Okay. Pawn to b3, then what will black do? Black will probably go, king will go back, I think, because then he is happy. The moment pawn is advanced, I think it is, he will be able to exchange it or get back to it. So it is not.
Knight to b3.
Yeah, knight to b3 is a good idea, attacking the pawn and in a way that the king cannot defend it, right? See, the king could not have defended the pawn in any way. So now the pawn is forced to advance. Now
Knight C1.
knight c1. Knight c1 doesn't look right.
Knight to a5.
Knight to a5. Knight to a5, you are going to attack the pawn. But what will happen? Just imagine. Pawn will push. You will be forced to take it. And now this pawn is at a position which is 4 moves away from the knight. So black king will be very happily be able to, no? Or black king can go back to in fact to d3. Go to d3. So knight to c5. Why knight to c5? Because you cannot really push the pawn. If you push the pawn now, what will happen? White will take it and then defend it from a4, and then by the time black king goes all the way from here to a4, by the time white king has got just 3 steps to come and guard his pawn and then push it to queen. So black cannot really push the pawn on e4. So what he can do, king cannot come back here, right? Because the knight is putting this. So king has to try and go to d2. White king comes to and c2, and then knight just goes and defends. And now if you go to b3, which is what the black king reaches, but just in time white king reaches. So you can take the knight, but you will lose the pawn, and now the white king is in a key square of the pawn. So he's going to win it. Not right now, but once he takes the knight. And black king is in a zugzwang. So this was a beautiful endgame, I think. Okay, let's go to number 8. In fact, this position, I don't want to even solve it right now. It will take time. It is a tough position, level 8 position. So you just know, right? I mean, you take it and you solve it, try to solve it and see it. I think we'll stop here because this is a homework.
Sir, rook takes b4 and then bishop h7, rook d6, bishop d6.
Let us check it. Rook takes b4. Bishop h7 is always there on the card, right? So what is, so bishop h7. Now?
And then bishop d6.
Bishop d6.
Yeah, and then you fork it.
Fork it, but what your aim should be better, more than that, right?
But then, okay, but then.
So can you try that bishop to d6?
Huh?
Can you try bishop?
Oh.
D6 is not great because see, it will be a two exchange or so, two rooks, right? Black queen can go for take the rook, white queen takes it, and then the rook attacks the bishop, and black will have two rooks and a bishop versus queen and a bishop. So it is kind of equal position. So not this, but why don't this? You should immediately think of that. I think queen h5 check. So now we are almost there.
Now rook to e4 and then rook to, with the idea rook to h4.
Rook to e4, but yeah, you are, I mean, idea is right, but you have to make it work practically. So there is something else is required. Because if you take rook to e4, right, then black will play f6 probably.
Sir, bishop g7 threatening checkmate.
Yeah, bishop g7, double bishop sacrifice you have to think of. Why? Because then now it becomes clear. Why?
Then king g5.
Queen to g5.
And then king h8 and then rook e4.
And now rook e4, and now
Yeah.
there is really nothing that you can do. Right? So starting position, if you go and see this, right? I mean, let's go back. See this bishop pair from hell, I think. See this double bishop sacrifice you have to think. Only thing is that what move what and all that will keep changing depending on the position. But in such a position, normally the double bishop sacrifice will work. There is no black knight here. So, and the rook has got, queen has got easy path to h5 and the rook has got a thing. So double bishop sacrifice should work here. Good. So I think that was that. So I think we covered a lot of positions. I think this is what we'll do it every Wednesday. Okay. So 4 positions from that thing which I send and about 8 positions from this Stefan method. That's what we'll do it every Wednesday.